예, 시간이 되어서 저희들 이제
So welcome back to the discussion sessions. We have invited our presenters along with the panelists for the session before lunch. And if you have any questions or comments about the topic of the session, you can save them until the end because we will have Q&A session. And let me give you our panelists. Professor Kim Tae-man from Korea Maritime and Ocean University. He has been the head of the Korean National Maritime Museum and also an advisor to the Society of Chinese Studies. And he's also the policy and design committee member for the Moon Jae-in administration and advisor to the National Equal Development Commission and also Cultural and Art Commission of Busan City. So we will get down to business. Let's do that without further ado.
It's a great pleasure to meet you, and I didn't expect such nice introduction, so I feel flattered. So this is a meaningful occasion, and we are here to talk about how to display the sea in the era of artificial intelligence, and it's a great honor for me to join you here. And I listened to 4 of the presentations, and they were all impressive. And in October last year, I believe that it was in Changwon, there is a Democracy Film Festival, and one of the films was called AI, and Lady Suro, Queen Suro. So Kaya was founded by Lady Suro, and from scenario to production, everything was done by AI, and it was a 20-minute film. So it was very eye-catching as a viewer, and it was the very first AI-created film in Korea, and it was shocking. And different countries in East and West, there have been many films produced by artificial intelligence. I looked it up, and AI involved in some of the scenario work, and it involved in the later part of the production, not only the film, but also literature as well. And the same goes for music. And there is a song titled I Am AI, and AI actually composed the song. So without any explanation, I cannot distinguish whether the song was composed by human or artificial intelligence, which is a new technology. So we cannot make a distinction right away. And it was briefly mentioned in Professor Go's presentation. And Rapinardo, an artist, used the entire wall of Guggenheim and made a video art. So it was such a masterpiece. And not only Rapinardo, we had a Korean company called District, which is 24 years old, and in Samsung-dong, they displayed a video with wave in the ocean, and it shocked people passing by the street, and it was directly connected to Manhattan. And they also displayed the image of a waterfall in the corner of Times Square in Manhattan. So as such, there have been various achievements using AI or with the involvement of AI. So instead of creating arts merely using AI, we can take one step further, just like our theme. AI could direct and curate the exhibition. And there has been experiments already. There was one case in Taiwan. So at the Science Hall, AI curated an entire exhibition. And as we saw in one of the presentations, the National Maritime Museum of Korea, 2 years ago, hosted a special exhibition on sailing era, and it was a surrounding media hall which gives the image 360 degrees. And it was about Busan basically, but it was a short video about the history of oceans and sailings of humanities. So AI is already in our daily lives. We say that we have to study AI, and AI is a new technology, but it is already deep in our daily lives. So we listened to 4 remarkable presentations, and National Maritime Museum of Korea is the only maritime museum in this country, and we heard about various exhibitions. And it goes beyond the visual angle of human. So the immersive content was also covered in the presentation. And the National Maritime Museum already displayed such a video 3 years ago. And the title was The Imagination of 10 Years, and it was very popular. And sailing era was there too. And digital media hall, digital media pavilion will be constructed. I believe that it will be a meaningful space. When I was working at the museum, so it could be called a bird's eye view. We didn't have that before, but we have the bird's eye view now. So I can see the project is going well. It's good news. And the directing technique, the new directing technique is expanded through metaverse. The different maritime museums across the world could enjoy networking on metaverse, and we can have the rotating exhibition through the metaverse platform. And I hope to see the continuous progress on that project too. And these cases will be helpful to expand the exhibition hall we have. The most important thing is for the maritime exhibition. So there have been various examples covered in the presentations. We have ocean, environment, ecology, and climate change, and marine industries, logistics, and port. There are so many items and areas where AI can be applied. The problem is not only the science industry. I believe that arts and humanities should be combined to those projects. The oceanic technology advancement should be combined with humanities so that the general public could have a better awareness of the maritime industry. That's where the maritime exhibition and maritime museums can play a critical role. And in the process, you can tap into AI technologies in different ways. I believe that there are already ongoing projects, including the underwater art museum. So underwater is a space where people cannot have access every day. And Avatar, the third episode of Avatar dealt with the ocean, and director James Cameron visited the deepest sea we can access, which was 11,000 kilometers deep. And oceanic space is suffering from marine litter. But we cannot go deep in the sea together. That is why we can make content and video through AI for the general public, and we can display the Mariana Sea, which is 11,000 kilometers deep, in the content which can be displayed at the wall of the National Maritime Museum of Korea. And what was interesting in Professor Go's presentation is that AI seems to be able to do everything. However, AI needs the basic data accumulated by humanities. They can edit the data, but they cannot generate data. But if they can generate data, still, the source should be given by humans. That is why AI and humankind should coexist for mutual development. Then, what can humans do? The most important role we can play is archiving the source of a maritime culture we have accumulated as mankind. That will be the source of data which can be utilized by artificial intelligence. And many research institutes have collected data on history and people and industries related to the oceans. We have collected the data, however, in a more comprehensive manner. We have to conduct an archiving project. So we have an officer from the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries, and I hope to see this kind of comprehensive project, because AI technologies are developing so fast. But to utilize such technologies for the maritime exhibition, we need basic data, and we have to build the data sets. So we should do the archiving of the data for the future development of the maritime exhibition. Thank you very much.
해양박물관
So he was the director of the National Maritime Museum of Korea. That's why he wanted to say so many things, but I asked him to wrap it up because of a time constraint.
님
Next panelist is Professor Lee Myung-hee from Dongsa University, and she designed the Kamcheon Cultural Village project for Kamcheon, Idong, and Sahagu, Busan. And she's done a lot of research and project for realizing social value of design. Thank you for the introduction. I am Professor Lee Myung-hee from Dongsa University. And to further elaborate on my research interests, I am interested in community-based service design and sustainability, and I also teach in that area. And listening to the presentations by the real experts, I realized how shallow my knowledge in this area is. But I'd like to share what I felt through the experiences, and also add my version of interpretation of what was mentioned in the presentations. So all the presentations had the major keywords in this topic. The presentations by Professor Kim and the Underwater Museum. So when I got asked to be a panelist for this session, I visited Maritime Museum for the first time. I'm sorry, my apology. And it was a really eye-opening experience. And I really had an amazing experience along with the Jeju University Museum exhibition. So really impressive and touching even. So the mobile exhibition and all these technologies and the legacy. I really enjoyed the presentations, and among the keywords, Busan AI sustainability and future are the 4 keywords that I extracted from the presentations. So unique Busan-ness, or the characteristic of Busan that could be combined with the AI technology. So immersive and viewer-oriented or viewer-centered exhibition experience could be the one word. So we have a lot of experience of exhibitions, different types of exhibitions. So we all know that exhibition is not just about one-way give or take. It would be better if it's interactive. And if we could link or include the experience or senses of the viewers into the exhibition using the new technologies like AI, that would be innovative too. And thirdly, it's actually one of my research interests these days, which is sustainability, which was also included in all presentations. So at Dongseo University, we built the Center for SDGs, published by the UN, and we also announced the ESG management policies. And it was so far, it wasn't really successful, in my personal opinion. So the presentations was an opportunity to look back upon what we have accomplished or failed to accomplish. And what I am interested in, especially these days, is future thinking based on the AI technology. So we can dream of the future we like, along with the dystopian future that we always talk about when we envision the future as a way of warning ourselves. So sustainability is definitely the topic that I want to focus on. And the visitors and viewers, and in this case mostly that would be Busan citizens, so they can be included in as part of this exhibition. We can think of something as a scenario. So these are the keywords that I extracted from the presentations. And as was explained by Professor Kim Tae-man, the ocean element of Busan. And there could be something that Busan citizens are not even aware of as of yet. And Busan as a floating city is the theme that I've been thinking of as one of the themes for Expo. And I sort of felt that my vision laying out or unfolding in front of my eyes, listening to the presentations. So I believe there's a huge room for imagination. And we can probably exclude the dystopian picture out of this if we work hard enough. And I saw a silver lining out of the presentations. Yes, thank you very much for the insights, Professor Lee.
대학교의 문사
Now we are going to invite Professor Seo Kwang-dok from Pusan National University. Good morning. My name is Seo Kwang-dok from the Institute for Humanities and Social Science at Pusan National University. So two of the panelists have shared professional comments and diverse comments. So I will just share some of my wishes. So when I organized this session, I wanted to highlight the National Maritime Museum because now we are seeing an increasing number of such museums. But the first Maritime Museum was established in Busan 12 years ago. So I wanted to highlight two aspects. But I invited the former director and the current exhibition team leader. So I expected a great content from both of them. And my first wish is about the status of the museum. So it is located in Busan and it is a government organization managed by the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries. So it is located in Busan. And second, it is a central organization, and we are seeing more and more maritime museums. But as the first maritime museum established in Korea, we have to lead all the related activities, such as the exhibition and content quality. And the other intention to organize this presentation was related to Professor Kim's presentation. So she shared examples of foreign maritime museums, and she said the ocean is the environment. And we are witnessing abnormal climate constantly. And one of the climate specialists made this impressive comment that we live on land. However, more than 70% of the planet is the ocean. So all of the land and continents are islands. So that is why we have to start from the ocean when we deal with the environmental issues. So we have to start to think from the perspective of natural science when we talk about the ocean. And marine historian conference was hosted recently. And how do they study the marine history in East Asia? And what are the features of East Asia and Korea? And we talked about the displaying technique or exhibition method. I don't know anything about it. I'm sorry, but Professor Go mentioned the creation. So AI will have a different approach from the digital exhibition. It is not a mere display of existing artifacts. It creates something new. I was highly interested in the presentation because it was very interesting. And last but not least, Mr. Cho is working actively in the field, and we work with Pusan Ilbo, and we are releasing series. An exhibition is using AI, and now we are seeing the limits in the physical space. The Busan can be designed as a exhibition hall. So how can we tap into North Port? So I believe that Professor Cho has various ideas, and I would like to hear them later.
이렇게 담당하셨고 그 부산이라는 이런 것에 중점을
Thank you very much. He is the very person who organized this session, and he talked about the status of the Maritime Museum, and Incheon is preparing to establish their own Maritime Museum. Of course, we have to lead the activities as the first Maritime Museum, but we have to ensure the unique charm of the National Maritime Museum of Korea. So he shared his wish in this direction.
원래는 해양방
Last but not least, we were supposed to have staff members from Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries, and the person who's going to come here couldn't make it, so we invited Mr. Ko Gi-hwan instead, secretary. Thank you very much for the introduction. Yes, I am Ko Gi-hwan, and I am here in lieu of my boss, and I am going to share what we've done for the project that we conducted, and also what we are working on in terms of AI exhibition. So starting from 2010, the project for Maritime Museum, we've expanded our project scope, including many other cities. And as was mentioned, the development of technologies is closely linked to the development of the exhibition trends, marine exhibition. And in that sense, we will make sure that scientific development is well reflected in the advancement of the Maritime Museum and its collection. So it's always the government's concern that when you build any organization or institution, you have to make sure that that institution is visited by many audience or visitors. So I listened to all those presentations and seeing how different organizations and different scholars are thinking hard to reflect the current AI technologies. I also thought to myself that at the end of the day, it's all about contents that can really bring the collection and bring the exhibition closer to the viewers. So that should include sometimes AI technologies and other media art. But we also are confronted with some realities like budget and space limitation, resource allocation. So we have to also think about effective resource allocation and the use of such resources. So financial support and systemic and institutional support is the area that the government has to work on. That's my takeaway from the presentations. Thank you very much for the comment. So it's 11:52. There's not much time left. So we just heard the opinions shared by the panelists. But we'd like to invite more comments on the presentations. But I think I have to limit time. I'm sorry, so we'll go with the first presenter.
말씀을 드려야 되겠네요.
Okay, I will go first. So panelists shared great comments, so I took a note of their comments. And let me give you some answers. And Mr. Ko just said that there are many maritime culture institutions operated under the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries, and there are some people who have concerns over this. The local institution needs to have a clear identity, and we are taking that direction. And we will open a maritime museum in Incheon, and they will be specialized in the history of marine logistics. And the museum in Busan will continue to serve as the comprehensive maritime museum, which will deal with the history of maritime culture. And all of the different institutions will have a clear and distinct identities. That's the consensus among the institutions. And I talked about new technologies utilized for our new projects. So it might be suspicious because we are talking about the metaverse platform and we are talking about the digital ocean pavilion, which are not an easy task. However, taking this opportunity, I hope that there will be even higher interest so that we can utilize the technologies from the private sector, and I hope to garner the government support in subsidy and in other forms so that we can have a better opportunity to lead activities as a maritime museum in Korea. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Beck. Let's move on to Professor Kim.
다시 발언할.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. My presentation didn't include the AI aspect. I was the only one, so I'm not in the right position to give the comments about the presentation because it should be about AI. So I'll just give comments about the presentation. And I really appreciated the presentation by Mr. Ko, Professor Ko. And I really got impressed by when she said AI is also about creation.
이제 저의 입장에서는 창조를.
So my work is usually about the past. So creation happens when you start to notice things that are created, and anything is about reflecting the current issues because it's related to the genuine nature of the issue. So AI is all about prompt, the correct prompt. So this is where humanities must pay attention to, giving the right prompt to the AI technology. And also about intuition, I hugely agree with the point. And about education, well, museum, since it started in 17th century, it was all about educative value, and it has been much talked about, much discussed, and it was always about finding the right balance. So if I may add my point there, so museum giving some sort of satisfaction, sense of satisfaction, mental or aesthetic satisfaction, whatever it is. Museum is basically about giving such satisfaction, but museum should also be about serving as an educator. A museum should always be able to propose an issue for argument or food for thought. So museum collection should be about showing the past, showing the human history of adventuring into the ocean, but it should also be able to about coming up with the questions about the future direction. So that is my comment that can be added. Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Kim.
교수
Let us move on to Professor Ko.
네, 오늘 그 AI는 참
AI is such a difficult topic. When I was preparing for this presentation, I thought hard about this topic, and this idea came to my mind. We always use tools, and AI is the most intelligible tool we have ever seen, and it is an unprecedented type of tool. And how can we embrace this tool? So we have to think about that. So just looking at the existing artifacts is the transfer of knowledge and information. And when we first had Naver launched, there was the service named 지식인, which means that knowledgeable person. It was the service which brought Naver to the top. And it is not quality information all the time. It is just opinion and information shared among the general public. However, it helped us not to bother spending too much time to find something. But these days, the younger generation is using YouTube video clips to find information. However, AI will even give you a summary without your own efforts. So it is much more advanced and intelligible. So against this backdrop, if we think AI is almighty, or if it is competing against humankind, I think it is not a good idea. For example, let me talk about the arts community. In the past, drawing was the most important part of arts. Decades ago, we didn't have a positive view on people who design something with Photoshop and programs. They just click on something in the computer, so they didn't regard it as a creation. So this is the perspective of painters. They have this mindset that you have to use your hand to create something. However, computer has been penetrated in our daily lives, and programs have been developed. So now the key is how to utilize these tools. So we have a visual design and industrial design, and no one is raising concerns over such areas now. I think we are at a similar juncture now. The museum and exhibitions used to deliver the information based on the existing artifacts. That was the focus. But now we have this advanced tool, which is open to everyone. So there will be a blurred line between professional and amateur. So when we make a video, in the past, not everyone could do it. Only the professionals could do it. However, now we have this great tool, so even amateurs can make a great video, and it is easier to Photoshop, and it is easier to write. Not only the professionals and even the general public could enjoy this tool. So the mere delivery of information is not sufficient anymore. The general public should be involved in the process of creating something new. So instead of using the term of artifacts and heritage, I believe that we are going to use the word culture and experience more, because people can always come to the museum. That's why the museum should be transformed into a complex space where people can directly involved in the process of creation. I believe that this is not a distant future, so we shouldn't have a hostile position against this new tool. So even not the professionals have access to this new tool. That is the most important fact. And as I said, the ocean is still unknown to humankind. And we would like to know more about the sea and the ocean. That's why people's participation is even more important. We have to pull our imagination and our senses for maritime literature. So recently, I got the license as a scuba diver, and I always wanted to explore the deep sea. But after I experienced it, it was totally different. I had a huge fear of the sea, and even after I got my license, I still have a fear of the deep sea. It was so dark, and I was floating alone. And I've never felt that on land, even though I'm almost 50. So maritime culture might have these kind of features because it has not been known to the public. And it should go beyond the words and explanations and artifacts. Thank you very much.
예, 고맙습니다. 마지막으로 조정현.
Thank you so much, Leslie. President Cho. I just want to echo what was mentioned previously about scuba diving. I myself had an experience for scuba diving for about an hour. And you usually go to Jeju Sea or Komundo Sea. You can have some sort of visual, but if you go right beneath Gwangan Bridge, all you see is darkness. It's so blurry, so you can't have any visual, literally. So you have that much fear. So you go inside, you go underwater, then you certainly have completely different view or perspective about the ocean. And as was asked by Professor Saw, what should be the manner in which it should be done? Well, for me, I talked about space where you can actually see the exhibitions for view. And I'd like to mention the oceanic or marine mobility. So without having to dive into the ocean, we can think of something else like submarine with half or semi-submarine-ish device. So, or you can think of some AI technology. You don't have to dive into the ocean. You just stay on land and still see everything like you are underwater. So how can we put things on display, on view, using technologies and still create some differentiated experience? So the Marine City by UN Habitat could be a source of idea because it is seeking to elevate the access level or improve the access level by taking advantage of such a new technology while still basing on the legacy exhibition. So it's not just about curating. We should go beyond just the legacy curation experience. Yes, thank you very much for the comment. Maybe we can get some questions or comments from the floor, from the audience. So If you have any comments or burning questions, please raise your hand. And we can, of course, use the Q&A session. But if you have any burning question, please raise your hand. So there's none, and I'll take it as your consensus that the presentations and discussion session was perfect, that you got what you wanted from this session. So the session was the Ocean Humanities session, and this was really truly inspiring and insightful. So I'd like to thank all the presenters and panelists for your informative and intuitive and insightful talks. Honored to have had you, and this is the wrap of the humanities session. Thank you.